And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very special episode today on the 25th day of June. And looking out there, it's a little bit cloudy, so it will be mostly cloudy today with it 18 degrees at the temperature at the moment in Brisbane, where we are streaming to you via Australian Indian Radio, and the stream brought to you by Chantex Multimedia Production. So it is very good to have your company once again, and there's lots to talk about. Don't forget that in this very special segment, right after the news, we have Upma here in this studios, and she'll be talking about the upcoming Ravishing Fashionistas show, and of course, amazing job that she has done so far in bringing it to the level where it is right today, and we making us all very, very proud and lifting the bar up very, very high. But first of all, we'll take a look at some of the news. That's breaking news. Well, right now, let's get the update right here from Queensland government, and let's try and join in the stream there. Yes, we are ready.
We are reporting 2 new cases of community transmission in Queensland, both in quarantine contacts of that known case related to the Portuguese Family Centre. That means we now have 41 active cases, 1,679 total cases since the pandemic began. We did 8,995 tests in the last 24-hour period, and we vaccinated 13,805 Queenslanders, bringing our total to 491,587. As you'd understand, we continue to monitor the situation related to the Sydney Delta variant outbreak very closely. That continues to expand, and we'll look forward to that update from New South Wales later today. It appears to continue to be largely contained to the Greater Sydney area, although there is one case of transmission of somebody who was in Sydney, went to Melbourne, and has then given it to another person in Melbourne, underlining just the risk that this outbreak could spread to the states. At 1 a.m. this morning, we further lifted restrictions, including from people in the Victorian hotspots. Yesterday, police turned around 186 people who attempted to enter Queensland by air, and they were sent back to Sydney, and 128 people who arrived were put into hotel quarantine. We're expecting a further 41 cases today. As I say, that Melbourne case, as well as concern about the number of people from Sydney who will be holidaying alongside Queenslanders in northern New South Wales, just means we need to have better visibility on people in the northern New South Wales area travelling through there back into Queensland. And so until now, we've exempted people within that northern New South Wales border bubble from needing a border declaration pass. Because of the school holidays and the New South Wales outbreak, the Sydney outbreak, we will be requiring those border declaration passes for everyone who crosses the border for the period of this New South Wales outbreak. Now, these passes last for 14 days, so for people who come and go across the border regularly, they will only need to apply for a pass every 14 days. Let's hope that the New South Wales outbreak can be contained within, say, 14 or 28 days, meaning people only need to apply for 2 of those passes. Those restrictions will come into place at 1 a.m. on Monday. Now, before handing over to the Health Minister and the Chief Health Officer, I just want to address the proposal received late last night from the Prime Minister for a quarantine facility in Pinkenba. And can I underline that we certainly welcome that the Commonwealth is finally giving consideration to supporting a Queensland quarantine facility. Of course, it needs a lot more work. This was a 1.5-page letter received by us late last night, just after it was provided to the Courier Mail. The only detail in the letter is an address. And I'd just note that when Queensland provided a 15-page early proposal, we were told that that was far too little detail. Now, we will work with the Commonwealth through that detail. Our officers have already started analysis on that site, but there is a lot more work to be done. The proposals that we had been working on were for regional quarantine facilities. This clearly won't be a regional quarantine facility. This will be an urban quarantine facility, and that will require different arrangements for infection control and for keeping the community safe. So our officers will work with the Commonwealth to determine how that can be done. I think what Queenslanders liked about the regional quarantine proposal was the distance between this facility and people's homes, distance between the facility and an urban area, this Pinkenba proposal is in the suburbs of Brisbane, and so we'll need to consider that very, very carefully in working up the proposal. And we would certainly welcome if the Commonwealth has done any more work other than the letter that the Prime Minister sent us last night. We'd certainly welcome them providing that to us and welcome them working with us for how such a facility can be safely designed and developed. Yvette?
Thank you. And so our message to Queenslanders, as we start easing restrictions in Queensland, we can have more people in venues now. We can have self-serve and buffets happening again. We want to remind people that to maintain these levels of restrictions, being the lowest in the country, we need to be vigilant. So if you are feeling unwell at all, please stay home. Go get tested and wait for your results. As we've seen with what's happening in New South Wales, this is now transmitted to Victoria. We need to be cautious and we need to ensure that we are doing the right thing by ourselves and by our community by getting those tests done. So we want to see our testing levels stay high. I also want to congratulate all of our vaccination centres and the staff there for great numbers. We are certainly on track of delivering at least the same number of vaccinations last week, which was over 85,000, potentially even 90,000, depending on how many vaccinations we do over the weekend. So it is more important than ever that you get vaccinated. If you are 60 or over, please book in with your local GP, or if you're in the regions, a pharmacy if they are available and accredited. Alternatively, if you are under 60, from 40 to 59 years old, or you are a 1A or 1B, a frontline worker, please reach out to our community vaccination hubs and come and get vaccinated. The sooner you are vaccinated, the sooner it protects you, but we know when you...
The sooner you are vaccinated, the sooner it will affect you. Well, that is the message. And of course, there have been some talks about, why some people got AstraZeneca and others are getting the Pfizer. Well, of course, there's the supply and demand, and of course, the rules and regulations and this supply, made available to some people and not to everyone. There's a question there to be answered, I do believe. Well, right now, let's take a look at New South Wales. Well, according to the reports, the New South Wales case is the scariest at this point in time.
Budget Day, one of the biggest on the political calendar.
Today we have 93 members in the chamber.
Among them is Agriculture Minister Adam Marshall. Seen here on Tuesday afternoon mingling with colleagues and even taking centre stage.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
He received devastating news just a day later.
My main concern or worry is not for me, it's for everyone else that's now awaiting test results and all that uncertainty.
Minister Marshall is one of 11 new COVID cases. The source of one of those infections is still a mystery.
Since the pandemic has started, this is perhaps the scariest period that New South Wales is going through.
The Premier herself has been caught up in the scare. She addressed a Nationals budget dinner on Tuesday night.
There would have been 70 or 80 people in the room at that dinner.
That individual who was infectious was moving around, deliberately engaging people in conversation as part of that nature of the event.
But Gladys Berejiklian says he didn't speak with her.
Zero. He has been interviewed and has confirmed he had zero contact with me.
She's been classified a casual contact, despite other people in the room being told to self-isolate for 14 days.
If they get another case or they deem a casual contact is now a close contact, well, I fall into that category.
But what I've done this morning is follow the health advice to the letter, in fact, overboard.
The advice to the health minister was to stay home.
So we've still got a Premier. We may not have a health minister.
He was later cleared for duty. The Deputy Premier is still waiting.
So I've decided to put myself into isolation.
The government is standing by its strategy and is resisting calls for a short, sharp lockdown for now. The Chief Health Officer says her team can keep up with contact tracing, but they need the public's help. She says she wants more than 40,000 tests every day for the next week.
It is incredibly important at this time that we flush out any unrecognised chains of transmission.
Parliament returned late this afternoon to pass the budget.
Somewhat trying circumstances over the last day.
With far fewer politicians. Their workplace has joined dozens of others across the state as a potential exposure site. Rani Hayman, ABC News.
And of course, when we look at those cases, once again growing, and the call there is now to increase the number of tests, but still no lockdown, not even a short, sharp lockdown. So, there's lots of conversation on and off official media, and of course, there's lots on social media talking about, that they should go ahead with the lockdown, and others are opposed to that idea. And of course, the case of making or declaring it one of the scariest periods since the start of pandemic. So let's take a look at some of the results and some of the stats on this outbreak.
The outbreak that started with an unvaccinated driver last week has now reached all the way to New South Wales Parliament.
I was tested very early this morning and isolated and returned a negative test a couple of hours ago.
Another case has been linked to the party in West Hoxton, taking that cluster to 12. The link to Sydney's Bondi cluster was an infected Bondi Junction worker who attended the party and unwittingly spread the virus. 3 of the new cases are close contacts of a Double Bay hairdresser, but it's still not known how he got infected. It's one of 3 mystery cases now being investigated out of 49 total active cases.
There's 3 cases where we haven't got a clear link. It is the 9-year-old that we haven't got a clear link. The hairdresser from Double Bay, we haven't got a clear source there. And there is a person in a health facility that we know that there have been a patient there that attended, but we can't find the exact crossovers.
The New South Wales Premier is ruling out a lockdown for now.
Since the pandemic has started, this is perhaps the scariest period that New South Wales is going through.
The Premier and State Police still haven't concluded their investigation into how an airport driver was unvaccinated.
I'm as upset as anybody and frustrated as much as anybody. We all work so hard and it's really disappointing when things don't go the way they should.
Victoria's also recorded 2 new cases linked to the Sydney outbreak, one who attended the West Hoxton party, the other a subsequent contact. Jane Holton chaired the National Review of Hotel Quarantine, and Professor Greg Dorr is an infectious disease expert at the Kirby Institute. Greg, let me start with you. Any other state in Australia would have all of its residents locked down in this scenario. How do you assess the call that the New South Wales state government's making?
Look, I'm very confident in the decision they've made. I think they're looking at some key pieces of information. So they're looking at the number of cases that are under investigation, the number of cases that are linked, the number of cases that were detected while in home quarantine are really important. So it's not just the raw numbers that they're looking at. And even if you looked at the raw numbers, if we compare the current outbreak to the Northern Beaches outbreak, 8 days into the outbreak, Northern Beaches was about 120 and 130 cases. So we've had less cases so far because we picked up this outbreak quickly. We didn't have a period of undetected spread that they had in the Avalon RSL initial outbreak.
Jane Holton, we know that this started with an unvaccinated car driver transporting an international flight crew. The New South Wales Health Minister Brad Hazzard said on this program last week that that was an unknown unknown. Was it?
Well, it's actually quite disappointing that this has happened because, of course, we've known of the risk from people who are transporting airline staff since the very beginning of this whole pandemic, and indeed it's something that has been discussed in the past. Now, we all understand that mistakes are made, but these sorts of things should be part of the systems and processes we have to make sure we prevent, wherever possible, this kind of spread. So, no, we've actually known about these drivers and the risks that they present to all of us.
When you say that had previously been discussed, the idea of the risk of unvaccinated drivers and transport crews, where was it discussed? Who was it discussed with?
So whilst in my review that wasn't a focus, certainly it is something that I talked to a number of people about, making sure that there was no possibility that this virus could come in and spread from one of these workers. So everything from how these people were going to be transported to their accommodation, and indeed, as we've already discussed, the protections that people would actually have for the workers doing that transportation. So this has been discussed, and it was discussed probably 6-8 months ago.
Is it fair enough for the public to sort of throw their hands in the air and go, well, when are these basics going to be taken care of? Because the situation also...
So the situation in Sydney will be monitored, and of course we know that Queensland has been closing borders, as restrictions are easing in Queensland, as you heard, now buffets will be back, more people will be allowed into public venues, and especially the places of worship, there's more people allowed in now. As we move into easing the restrictions, right next to us in New South Wales on the what's happening there is a bit of concern, and we need to control that right here. Well, many times there are, of course, party politics that comes in play as well, but in incidences like this, when it is the question of the health, security and safety of everyone concerned, it should be up and above and beyond party politics. That's what I think. Well, right now, moving on to our trade relations. So what's happening in that? The Trade Minister, Dan Tahan.
We'll robustly defend this dispute, and our defence is that we go through proper processes through our Anti-Dumping Commission when we put duties in place, and we do so based on detailed analysis of Australian industry, and so we will robustly defend it. We obey the WTO rules, we take them seriously, they've stood us in great stead as a nation, and so we will obviously take up the consultation with China on this dispute. We're happy at officials level to discuss it with them, and also at ministerial level, but we will robustly defend this case. One of the things that I would point to is normally in these types of disputes or cases, these issues would be raised through the relevant WTO committee. They would also be raised at a bilateral level before it's escalated to a WTO dispute. We didn't see that happen with regards to the...
So Australia will defend and vigorously defend the decision to impose duties on its products, and it's got all rights to do that. Well, right now move to Victoria, and let's see, are Victorians getting used to this lockdown, or are they at a fatigue level?
Richard, Melbourne's recent lockdown was triggered by a handful of cases, and what they were particularly worried about was the Delta variant. The virus has come to Melbourne from somebody in Sydney, so chances are it is also the Delta variant. If the same logic drives Victorian public health policy as last time, what does that mean for Melbourne?
Well, I think that's the big question that everyone is sweating on right now, Lee. And the people in public health and government officials are saying the next 24 hours is critical. And one of the key things, though, to take into mind this time is I think government and public health in Victoria are acutely aware of the lockdown fatigue in this state. As you mentioned, Melbourne has had 4 lockdowns, and the tension, the frustration is certainly there. So the government will be hoping that they can jump on this early, and they are at the moment believe that they've jumped on this nice and early. That one of the first case was a man in his 60s, lives alone. He's in an apartment complex, and that is being locked down as a primary contact site. And the concern is the 100 people or so that went to this dry cleaners in Sandringham, where the other person has also been infected, and that person went off to a Medi hospital, I should say. The real critical thing, as again I said, 24 hours, the government's hoping they can jump on top of this, but as always, the option of lockdowns is always on the table, and they're hopefully that they won't have to use that lever, but the next 24 hours are critical, and the government again is very conscious of the fact that Victorians are have lockdown fatigue, and they just can't afford to do this again, but if they have to, I think the government won't hesitate to do so.
So lockdown fatigue has been mentioned there. Well, as I mentioned before, that today we have a very special segment coming right up, which is, a conversation with Upma of Ravishing Fashionitis and an amazing model. So let's join that interview. Very, very passionate about what she does. So, she is none other than Upma from Ravishing Fashionitis. And this was set up to help women embrace themselves and embrace and be confident and break their stereotypes. So, we're going to talk all about that today. So once again, welcome to the studio, Upma.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. And thank you so much for your tremendous support throughout our journey.
Always there for the support. And right now, moving on, because there's lots of things that we need to talk about and a lot of things that we need to cover. Ravishing Fashionitis, how did this start? There always has to be some inspiration, something burning inside to say, okay, let's do this. So what was that inspiration behind setting this up?
That's a nice question. Fashion industry, as you all know, is very niche. And models have been catered with the size and age. So being model myself, of course I did my modeling and I was crowned as Mrs. Australia Universal. But during that period, I realized that this segment needs some change. And when you are out of 30s or when you go out of your 10 size, the acceptance is very less. And that's how this concept created, where we embrace all sizes, all ages of women. And in 2019, when we initiated this concept, it was welcomed by everyone in all the community and all. Of course, it was welcomed by, I would say, became a talk of the town in Brisbane when we had a first show. And that's how it started.
And it is great to see that that is how you started, and it is wonderful that what you have been able to do. So, of course, whenever we have something, whenever we start something, there are always many challenges. Obviously there would have been quite a few, but what were the main challenges or some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
So, in terms of as I mentioned, being a model myself, I challenge fashion industry. I challenge fashion industry saying that models have been categorized with the size and age. That was the biggest challenge, of course, I did to the fashion industry. So there were people who supported, and there I could see many people who felt, oh my God, what this crazy girl is doing. But the people who were supporting, they were consistent. So I would say I was challenging myself within the industry where I belong to, but I respect everyone. So this concept, when I created, as I'm a full-time employee with TESDA, all the people who supported me with the volunteers, makeup artists, photographer, people like yourself, community members, leaders and politicians, the fashion dignitaries. So the challenge when I was facing of getting the right label for our show, getting the right people on board, that was the biggest challenge I had, because this was a very unique concept formed by us, and where we talked about discover yourself. We advocate every woman is beautiful and we should embrace them, and everybody should feel proud of being a woman. So when we go to the Myer, we go to David Jones, we see the skinny model, or we see the models who are of course looking dazzling, but how about when the designer is catering the sizes, they are sizing for everyone. So that's what the concept I was dealing with, very, very real. And the people who supported us felt that then there is a change which is required, because in Brisbane, or of course we see only 2-3 fashion show, Mercedes, Brisbane Runway, Brisbane Fashion Month, and everywhere models have been taken from the agency. There is no open casting call. So we created this open casting call where we invited all sizes, all ages of women. And that that challenge itself I have accepted so positively, and slowly people supported, and that's how it was turned around, that we did the both sold out show in 2019 and 20.
And you did very well with those shows, and of course this year you are taking it to another level, which is amazing, and it is very, very good to see. Now you have briefly touched on that. How does what is every show or every event has its own USP, the unique selling proposition, and what is the uniqueness about yours? So you have touched a little bit on that, and how does as we said in our opening, that breaking the barriers, breaking the stereotype, moving it away from just those slim models and having an inclusive one.
So in the casting call, because in the casting call we have invited and fashionista around the Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, people have showed up. Now in this, the USB, I should not say, I'm not the salesperson, so I can't say USB, but yes, in our show what we did, how it is going to be unique is, you see the professional models and the newbie. We have trained them in such a way that you will not figure out who are newbie and who are professional. So that is a USB model who is walking first time. We have gauged the confidence in such a level that you will be so proud to see them. Oh my God, if she can walk, why can't I? So we are inviting people to come and have a look. There is a show which is going to compete with a high-end show. There is no compromise in quality, quantity, and the location we have acquired this year. We are doing in RNA. Capacity is going to be more than 400. So there is no compromise in quality as compared to, I had witnessed, I was invited in Australian Fashion Week recently, and you will not see the difference of the confidence in our models. That's our USP, that we are presenting the models who are so proud of being showcasing themselves that they can deliver the best out of them.
And that is such a great thing that you're doing, because it is part of for women, that's a women empowerment, being okay with what you are, whatever size you are, whatever form you are, so you don't have to be just those slim stereotyped, so that is so amazing, because it will build their confidence, it will boost their confidence level and give everyone that look out that okay, I too can be out there. So that's amazing. Congratulations on picking up on that concept. That is so. Of course, we know that every year the themes are slightly different, and this year, if I look at the screen, it is looking very, very blingy, meaning very, very gold oriented. So glitter and gold. So how did you come up with this theme?
This concept came, like this gold and glitter theme came with the empowering. So when especially for the guest, this theme is depicted for the guest and our decor theme. So this when models or when the guests are arriving, this theme is depicting to the women, they are gold. I feel every woman loves gold and glitter, and that's how we came up with this theme, that people are buying the dollars worth of gowns, and they started preparation. The moment we announced the poster, there were numerous queries that, okay, so this is only for the models or this is for the guest? And we said, no, this theme is depicted for the guest, because of course we designers are from various segments. Today, this year, we have been blessed to have a TAY Fashion 360 emerging established designers who are collaborating with us. So we are really excited to get them on board. Along with that, I'm not sure whether how many people know that this team was, of course, this concept was created, but every year we support charity. This year we are supporting National Breast Cancer Foundation. So we have depicted that there is a team member who's coming from Sydney, and this year with the of course having collaboration with the National Breast Cancer Foundation, this theme is going to revolve because they are a bit of pink. National Breast Cancer Foundation is a bit of pink. So what we are depicting in our creative decor, that combination of pink with the gold and glitter. So it is going to be very exciting.
And And it will be, as you mentioned, that this gold and glitter is also for all the people who are attending there as well, with that theme. So it's amazing. And of course, supporting breast cancer, that is a very, very good charity to be supporting, and very meaningful and very purposeful. So once again, congratulations on that. Well, of course, you have mentioned that the venue this year. Now, if people wish to take part, so what is available, and how can people get involved?
So people can buy the tickets. People can support us buy tickets. Already we have sold out our 80% of the tickets. So, but we do have a gold tickets still left. There are one or two tables left, so people still can join. People can support us by volunteering. Let's say we are looking for volunteers. So if you like to join, let us know in advance. So we are in all the platforms. We are with only one name, Ravishing Fashionistas, either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or our website. So you can contact with us with any mode. Our ticket link is very much available on our Facebook page, and of course on the website also it is available. Any kind of support is welcome, because we, as I mentioned earlier, this massive project I have taken on my shoulder. I've challenged myself this time of the year where everything is very uncertain, but I was very positive that we will make this happen, and by grace of God we are going to the right direction. So your support, your wishes and your positive vibes makes lots and lots of difference to us.
And as you mentioned, that once you have a vision and if you have a steady path forward, all doors open for you. So you need to have that passion, you have to have that drive. And right now, you were confident, and look what's happened. A lot of restrictions are being lifted as well. So what you hope for is happening. So moving on. In conclusion, we'd like to thank you very much for being on the show, and bringing those highlights to us. Wishing you all the best. So any concluding remarks, on the show and the models?
So say to everyone, this show or this message is for everyone, for all male, all female, all genders, everyone. We just wanted to touch the point saying that God has created this beautiful persona as you, and we need to embrace. So whatever you do, whichever way segment you are, give your 100%, because everything is in a momentary basis, and if you put your 100%, definitely result has to come. And that's what we have done in span of 2 years, collectively taking help of each and every member, especially my team, who is working tirelessly, and then see the result is going to be seen on 3rd of July. So give your best, be positive, and always keep smiling, because God is always kind to everyone. Is just a moment which takes us into the positive and negative mode. We should be just thankful for each and everything. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for your tremendous support. So I must say, Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times have been a great support to Ravishing Fashionistas. When as a model they supported me, and when I created this concept, they were always there. So I'm so grateful that this message is being communicated with this platform, and so many people are watching. So I must say, join us in whichever way. We are always there to guide you all. Thank you.
And thank you very much for being on the show and for doing what you do out there, because especially when we look at what you're doing for women, this is a part of women empowerment as well. So once again, wishing you all the very best. And as Upma has said, that we'd like to see you all there on that night. And here's that link and the flyer once again. So if you haven't booked, there's limited seats available, tables. Please do book, and we'd like to see you all there on the night. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having, and we all see you on 3rd July at Royal International Convention Centre, 6 o'clock. Thank you.
forward to seeing you all at RNA on 3rd July. Secure your ticket right now. Thank you so much.
And wonderful interview there with Upma. Says and wishing her all the very best. As we know, it's not easy putting on an event that size and that big. Well, talking about events, that's lots more happening right here in Brisbane over the weekend. Let's take a look.
Councillor Angela Owen, and it's with great pleasure once again that I throw my support behind India Day Fair to be held this year on the 15th of August at Suncorp Piazza at South Bank in Brisbane. This is for many years, and it is wonderful to know that it is continuing and growing from strength to strength.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's wonderful to see that kind of support from Councillor Angela Awan, and there's lots happening. And don't forget that on the 1st of July is the poster launch, and that's when Gopia Queensland will go into an aggressive mode of marketing and promoting India Day Fair 2015. And our apologies, because there was some confusion. People thought it was happening at Roma Street, so don't forget that it is not happening at Roma Street Parklands. India Day Fair is not happening at Roma Street Parklands, but it is happening at the South Bank Piazza, which is a much bigger and better venue. And the way it has been designed, it will be like a big fair with a number of stalls and everything there. But all details will be disclosed on 1st of July. So if you are a photographer, a social blogger, or anyone, and if you are interested in coming to the Grand Gala cocktail launch, which will be held at the prestigious Emporium Hotel, please contact one of our team members and let us know, and invite will be forwarded for that registration there. So can't wait to see what that poster looks like this year and what the launch brings with the showstopper and everyone, being announced on the 1st of July at the Grand Gala cocktail event held at the prestigious Emporium Hotel. I'd like to see you there. Once again, it's been wonderful having you. Don't forget that tomorrow we'll have the weekend roundup, and there's lots that's happening. Tomorrow is a very, very busy day in Brisbane. There's lots happening as we pay our respect to Duncan Peng, and his public ceremony is happening at the Gabba. Many people will be there, and of course there's many musical functions happening tomorrow. There's 3 of them, and trying to go to all 3 is going to be challenging. But anyway, let's see what we can do and how we can do. Once again, have a wonderful weekend. Whatever you do, remain safe. Be mindful of those restrictions and rules. Of course, restrictions are easing in Queensland, but of course we always need to be vigilant, keep safe and observe those hygiene rules. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.